Hawa by Hashem Yahweh Shah by Hashem Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Okay, I just wanted to go into a quick lesson, which is a response to the brother Elder Zahab from the GMS Mississippi camp. His YouTube is Spirit Wind Lawyer or Spirit Wind Levi, I believe. But something he listened to his video, I believe it was entitled Appreciate or Love Your Peace, and I forgot exactly how it was titled. But it's peace, appreciate your peace or something along those lines. And something he said at the end of it was what inspired this lesson. And he had said, appreciate what you don't have, because this whole lesson was kind of going into, and he was focusing on the men, but it applied to women too, but focusing on the men, appreciating what you don't have. For example, for brothers that don't have a woman, you don't have a significant other or a woman that you're dealing with currently, whatever the case may be, you don't have a woman and you solo. Appreciate it, because whereas you're not having something that's tangible, the Lord is blessing you with things intangible. And he was going into how different virtues of the spirit is a form of spiritual power. And something else he had said was when you allow certain virtues, or like when your spirit becomes stronger than your flesh in certain areas, that's a form of spiritual power. Like he gave the example that the flesh is impatient. The flesh is always going to want something right there. It's it wants that instant gratification. But through the spirit is willing. So the spirit can be patient. And if you grow in the spirit, grow in your patience, grow in that aspect of your life where you have more patience, and you allow that aspect, that spiritual value, to become stronger than the impatience of your flesh, that's a form of spiritual power, because the spirit has put the flesh into subjection to it. It literally had more power than the flesh, which is a form of spiritual power. And he just went into different examples, and so it was a very beautiful lesson. And but he brought out a lot of good points, because it is a lot of situations where brothers are without women, mine included, currently without a woman. But the thing that he was going into is things I have been noticing. And it was, it's our beautiful time, because you start to become aware of these things, and the Lord just starts to, or if you wasn't aware, the Lord start making you more aware of the things that he's really doing, because it's all building you up for something far greater. And a lot of times having a woman or having, certain situations in your life can hinder that progress. So he was, his lesson was going into kind of primarily with brothers that didn't have a woman, and not just didn't have a woman, but not going into, not receiving the, I guess you could say, the benefits that come with having a woman. Because he was saying, we got emotional needs, he said bodily needs, sexual needs, different things like that. But he was saying, if you can master those needs, that aspect of your flesh, at least to a certain degree, because we're not going to be perfect, but if you master that to a certain effect and redirect that energy elsewhere, you become even more greater in those other areas, in that spiritual aspect of your life. So I was just going to, touch on a couple scriptures on that, because that was a very beautiful lesson. And again, appreciating what you don't have, because appreciating what you don't have, an example, a woman at the moment will gender you to appreciate the things that the Lord is doing for you, that you do have or that you're acquiring. So this is Philippians chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 1. I'm going to read it all in the AMP. Therefore, my fellow believers, whom I love and long for, and my delight and crown, my wreath of victory, in this way stand firm in the Lord, my beloved. I urge Euodia And I urge Sinchi to agree and to work in harmony in the Lord. Indeed, I ask you too, my true companion, to help these women to keep on cooperating, for they have shared my struggle in the cause of the gospel, together with Clement and the rest of my fellow workers whose names are in the book of life. Rejoice in the Lord always. Delight, take pleasure in him. Again, I say rejoice. Let your gentle spirit, your gracious, unselfish, mercy, tolerance, and patience be known to all people. The Lord is near. All of these are spiritual virtues, virtues of the spirit. These are things that the flesh can't exemplify. Only the spirit can exemplify, and only those who are spiritual can exemplify these spiritual benefits. And this is not to say, because another thing he mentioned was, it's not to say that brothers that do have women can't have a peace of mind and can't grow in those different aspects of their life. It's not to say that, but it was more so centered to brothers who didn't have the woman, because the scriptures say, has thou a wife, seek not, has thou not a wife, seek not a wife, roughly paraphrasing. And if you do have a wife, don't seek to be loose from her, just be content in whatever situation the Lord has you in. But just going into the ones that don't have a wife, because, brothers, sometimes we get weak, sometimes we get in the spirit of wanting a companion. You want someone had that woman around. How it is, and I'm pretty sure sisters can relate to wanting to have what how it's supposed to be. The Lord created a man. Created a woman for men, and the woman, for a woman, she know that she's supposed to be with a man. But whatever situation the Lord has you in, therefore be content. And Paul is going to go into this a little bit too, being a base and being abound. But he would just, the brother was mainly focusing on brothers that didn't have, women, because a lot of times we'll go out and try to seek some or try to get some, get a woman or whatever the case may be, and you wind up with the wrong woman, or you wind up with women that ain't right, and now you don't waste the time, waste the energy, and you're not really pouring into yourself. But the Lord is trying to pour into you, and the Lord be wanting to deal with you one-on-one, which is why he got you solo in the first place, single in the first place. And with the Lord dealing with you one-on-one, those spiritual values, those virtues will literally start to grow. You can amplify, and you have a sense of freedom, because now you can move about as much as you want to, how you want to, according to the spirit, all within the regulations of the laws, not just out here doing any type of thing, but you can move about how you want to without being tied down, because the women, they're still of this world. It's only the women the women that's of this truth, that's of the elect, that's going to move contrary to this world. But the rest of these women, they still caught up in the world. Even if they deal with you and they're, still pleased to deal with you, even though they know what you believe in, they still going to move about according to this world. And that's just another battle that you have to deal with. So if the Lord got you in a single situation, he want to deal with you one-on-one. And a lot of these, that's the perfect time to build you up in those spiritual aspects. So like I said, your graciousness, which I get the definition of these words. It says graciousness, courteous, kind, and pleasant, elegant and tasteful, especially as exhibiting wealth or high social status. And those of the elect, us Israelites in general, but especially those of the elect, we are of a high class, a high social class. We are of another caliber. Well, I say we, Lord willing, of that number, but the elect, they're of a high class. They are on a whole nother level, especially in this world. It's of course, a Christian belief showing divine grace, and then a polite epithet use of royalty or their acts. Right. So gracious, Salakia, for all the coughing and clearing in my throat. So this is graciousness, of course, unselfishness, which we know what that is, but I'm going to get it anyway. It says the quality of being willing to put the needs or wishes of others before one's own. And these are Salakia. Usually happen when I eat something that's probably is not really good. Just ate some fried fish, but unselfishness. These are virtues that you cannot find out in the world. That the world is not going to just teach you. Not in the aspect of how Yahweh Shai wants us to be. Mercy, compassion, or forgiveness shown towards someone whom it is within one's power to punish or harm, an event to be grateful for, especially because its occurrence prevents something unpleasant or provides relief from suffering, especially of a journey or mission performed out of a desire to relieve suffering, motivated by compassion. So it's motivated by compassion, using the expression of surprise or fear. So right, mercy, tolerance, the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular, the existence of opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. And all of these are virtues in the spirit that we exemplify in the world. That's why he said, be known unto all people. Because these are things, these are virtues that people will notice within you because they don't see it in other people. We are the light of the earth. Those of this truth, the hopeful elect, and ultimately the elect. We are the light of the earth. We are the ones that's walking contrary to this the light walking in this dark world. So these are different virtues that is exemplified. And a lot of times the Lord, like the brother has said, the Lord will replace something tangible with something intangible, because you can't see or grab or actually deal with tolerance, patience, mercy, graciousness, unselfishness. These are all intangible things, qualities that you have to possess. It's not like a woman that you can actually go and deal with physically, So it says also the capacity to endure continued subjection to something, especially a drug, transplant, antigen, or environmental conditions without adverse reaction. Which that's not the one we want anyways. A liable amount of variation of a specific quantity, especially in the dimensions of a machine or part. So really the first one. And patience. It says the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. And patience is very, very important. And even with not having a woman, that requires patience, because the Lord probably got you in a situation to not have a woman to build you up in other areas, so that when you deal with a woman, you would still be focused on the mission and focused on what you would have to do while still being able to deal with her, whatever the case may be, or the Lord just building you up in different areas. And it's that one-on-one time. It says, and also too, just being in this world, we have to deal with so many different situations, whether it be your job, finances, family, co-workers, friends, or just having to wait for Babylon the Great to be destroyed and to be saved. So patience is very important. And that's the only one I'm going to read, because that other one is going to something different. So I'm going to read verse 5 again. Let your gentle spirit, your graciousness, unselfishness, mercy, tolerance, and patience be known to all people. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious or worried about anything, but in everything, every circumstance and situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, continue to make your specific requests known to the Most High. And the peace of the Most High, that peace which reassures the heart, that peace which transcends all understanding, that peace which stands guard over your hearts and your minds in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, is yours. Right, so that's another thing. when for brothers that's in situations that you don't have a woman, you have peace, because especially if you dealt with them, and even more so if you live with them, you know that you're not gonna have peace like you would being solo in this world, because the type of women that we deal with, even in the ancient world, it was already a hassle. But the type of women, the caliber of women that we deal with now, they have been affected by westernization, feminism, and all manner of wickedness because of this Edomite, man, because of Esau. So the level that they're on is far worse than the level that that our women was on in the ancient world. So the peace is on a it's more peaceful to be in situations where you're solo and single, and the Lord probably he wants you to experience that as well, because a lot of times, especially for a lot of brothers, you might be in a situation where you with a woman and y'all break up or something like that, and it wasn't really something that you wanted, or it might not have been something that you didn't care, but deep down you really didn't want to break up, or whatever the case may be, or you didn't want to get rid of the woman, and you would try to replace what you lost. And this is something the brother had mentioned too. And I know for sure, me speaking from my own personal experience, it's something that I did try to do. Replace what you lost, so it's not really like you lost it, even though it's not the same. But that never works. And that's not how the Lord wanted your situation to go anyways. He wanted you to experience that peace of mind so that you can grow into the person that he wants you to be. And that requires you to be solo sometimes, because the Lord is always going to give you something. The brother quoted one of the scriptures. He going to give you everything in due season, every needful thing in due season. But until that time comes, the things that you need now are the intangible things that grow your spirit, That's what's needful. Like the scriptures say, you're going to get every needful thing in due season. And the time that you're not dealing with that woman is the time of the things that you actually do need. Like again, the patience, faith, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, tolerance, self-control, which is temperance, endurance, just different virtues of the spirit, different forms of spiritual power, like the brother was going into. Verse 8, and it's getting closer to the point. I think it's on down. Verse 8, finally, believers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable and worthy of respect, whatever is right and confirmed by the Most High's word, whatever is pure and wholesome, whatever is lovely and brings peace, whatever is admirable and of good repute, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think continually on these things, center your mind and on them and implant them in your heart. So focus on the things that matter. Focus on the things of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, what he's doing, because a lot of times we'll be so blind about the things that we want that we don't focus on the things that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is actually doing. Like if you can think about it, or if you can imagine, here is the Lord, he's building you up. He has his plan for you. He wants to build you up in these spiritual aspects of your life. Strengthen those spiritual virtues, for example, temperance, patience, faith, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, make you even greater son, daughter too, but sticking with the men of a greater son than you were, make you greater. And he has a whole plan for you, and he already done taken everything away so that he can implement his plan. But here it is, your mind, you got in your mind, you finna go deal with another woman, and run into the same problems that the men of this world running into, and running and getting the same results that the men of this world getting into. And if we can just somehow, like the Lord just put us in a trance, or we just go into a vision, or even in a dream, and in the dream starts off with us seeing everything the Lord is doing for us and what he purposed. And then the second part of the dream, is we seeing everything that we plan to do and we see the outcome of both of them. We would be in our right mind. We're going to choose what the Lord wants. That's what we going to choose. If the Lord was able to just take you in a dream and tell you in the dream, I'm going to show you two different visions. The first one is what I got for you and the outcome. The second one is what you thought you was going to do and the outcome. And you tell me now that you see everything, what you would choose. We're going to choose what the Lord wants for us every single time. Those are just truth. We're going to choose even if you're not in the truth, people would still choose what the Lord wants because that's making you much greater. So that's the things we really should be focusing on, what Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua got for us. Basically praying for our portion, The things which you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things in daily life, and the Lord and the Most High, who is the source of peace and well-being, will be with you. I rejoice greatly in the Lord that now at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned about me before, but you had no opportunity to show it. Not that I speak from any personal need, for I have learned to be content and self-sufficient through Yahweh Shai, satisfied to the point where I'm not disturbed or uneasy, regardless of my circumstances. Right. So Paul was saying, look, no matter what I'm going through, look, I know Yahweh Shai got me. They gave me everything I need. So I'm good. I can be content with what I have. And that's why he says self-sufficient through Yahweh Shai, satisfied to the point to where he is not disturbed and uneasy, regardless of the circumstances. And being in a situation or the circumstance where you don't have a woman, we have to be content, because we know that whereas we not advancing, or I don't even want to use advancing, but where we not, I guess you could say, growing, advancing in an area of dealing with a woman and, having the ups and downs, the pros and cons, the pleasures and the disturbances of dealing with her. We got all the pros, the benefits, the pleasures of growing in the spirit, because there is no cons to growing in the spirit. There is no downside growing in the spirit, and even if you don't have, even if it takes you not dealing with a woman, that's still not a con. That's still not a downside, because again, the women of this world, the women of Babylon the Great, America especially, is polluted. They ultimately are destroyed. That's why the Lord is only going to deliver a small handful of them. That's why, But there is no downsides to that. So that's why Paul said focus on those things, because it's no downside to growing in the spirit. It's going to be a up and down balance with dealing with women in this world. That's not to say don't deal with women, That's not say that at all. But it's just going into the comparison of, when you got that peace of mind, and how quiet, just like it is now. I'm here in my, in my spot, and it's quiet. I hear nothing but my voice. I don't even hear nobody outside, no cars. And I know people home. I don't even hear TVs around me or nothing. But it's just me and my voice. I'm thinking people can hear me making this lesson right now. But I got peace, quiet, and nothing to make me uneasy, And this is what Paul is going into. Like, he's content because he understands that the Lord got him in this situation for a reason, and we have to have that same mindset. Now, verse 12, this is the point. Well, 12 and 13. I know how to get along and live humbly in difficult times, and I also know how to enjoy abundance and live in prosperity. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing life, whether well-fed or going hungry, whether having abundance or being in need. So Paul was going into whatever, if he needs something, or if he have an abundance of it, he know how to live, and he know how to manage it, because Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is dealing with him, and the Lord has gave him all the needs, the spiritual training, and the wisdom, knowledge, understanding to deal with it. And we have to have that. We have to develop and maintain that same mindset, no matter what circumstance we in. we good, you know. If you don't have a woman, you good, you know. How about Shem Abishai is growing you in areas that you probably wouldn't have grown in had he not taken a woman away from you, or had he given you a woman. And if you do have a woman, you still good, you know, because it's not to say that you can't grow, you can't have peace, and especially if you got seed, you know, children too. It's not to say that you can't grow or reap the same benefits at all. It's not to say that at all, you know, because the Lord you will still set aside time, set aside a pace or place to deal with it, you know, especially if you're in a situation where you don't even want it, because, you know, it's it's gonna be brothers in situations where they wish they was alone, but the Lord still got you. You know, we have to be content with whatever situation we have, because he wouldn't have you in it if it was meant to destroy you, or if it was going to destroy you. He wouldn't have you in that type of situation. The Lord don't move that way. If you in the situation, the Lord know you can handle it. He knows you can handle it, or else he wouldn't have put you in it. Do you know that though? Do you trust that the process of how the Lord got it? Again, if you can see those two dreams and the Lord got you going through all this stuff, but in the end, your outcome is going to be greater versus you wishing you can get out of it and then missing the opportunity to reap the benefits of what he was trying to give you in the first place. Verse 13, this is the point, and I'm going to end it on this. I can do all things which he has called me to do through him who strengthens and empowers me to fulfill his purpose. I am self-sufficient in Yahweh's sufficiency. I am ready for anything and equal to anything through him who infuses me with the inner strength and confident peace. Right, so inner strength and confident peace, that strength through the spirit, you know, and peace in the spirit. Because in this world, we're going to have tribulation like Yahweh said, but through him, we're going to have peace. I'm going to end it on that. This is John 16:33. I'm going to read it in the AMP as well. I have told you these things so that in me you may have perfect peace. In the world you have tribulation and distress and suffering, but be courageous, be confident, be undaunted, be filled with joy. I have overcome the world. My conquest is accomplished, my victory abiding. Right. So Yahweh said, look, and him and this word, and then all the spiritual aspects and spiritual virtues and gifts, the spiritual power that comes with this, you're going to have peace, inner peace, you know, peace in the spirit, peace, you know, peace in your mind, peace of mind. But in this world, of course, you're going to have all types of manner of tribulations and sufferings and just distress situations that you have to deal with. But as long as we have this inner peace, we have the peace in Yahweh Shai, you know, we're going to be good. And a lot of times that suffering and patience is the same thing. It goes hand in hand. So the suffering in the flesh, like the brother gave the example, you know, certain brothers don't have a woman, so you might have the emotional, I forgot how you said it now, you know, emotional needs, sexual needs, different things like that. You know, this is just all a part of the battle. But the intangible benefits, the spiritual aspect, the spiritual growth that you receive when you redirect that energy, like it's on a level that's unimaginable. And the same for sisters too. Sisters that don't have husbands, the Lord knows the same thing. It's the same principle apply. You know, wishing you had a husband, and the Lord is going to give every needful thing in due season. You know, but in the time that you don't have it, you can redirect that energy into something more beneficial for you, you know. And the brother was giving other examples too, like you can work out, you know, calisthenics, learn something new, learn a new skill, pick up a new skill, better yourself, you know. And if you got seed, you know, especially if you're, you know, sister or brother, got seed, got your children with you or children around, pour into them, you know. Pour into them as much as you can and try to mold them to be like you or be greater. Well, be greater than you, you know. Pour into them those same virtues, those same aspects that you're learning. so that they can already start developing it and becoming greater in it as well. You know, pour into your children and allow them to grow. So if the Lord do give you, well, not if, but when the Lord, you know, for the women, when the Lord do give you the man, you know, a husband, he see those same virtues in you and your child, you know, or however the Lord do it, however the situation may go, you know, he'll, you know, those same virtues that's within you will be in your child as well. So, you know, Lord will, this is the edifying lesson, just a response to the brother's beautiful video. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutation to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, the children out there keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Until next time, shalom.